Man, I don't know about you, but today feels like one of those days that could end up changing everything we thought we knew about where this team is headed. As Eagles fans, we are always watching every move, every rumor, every decision because sometimes the biggest stories aren't the ones happening on the field. They're the ones happening behind the scenes. The ones that quietly shape the future of a franchise. And today, we've got not one, but two huge stories to talk about. The first one involves a blockbuster scenario that sounds almost impossible at first glance, but the more people around the league discuss it, the more attention it's starting to get. It's the kind of situation that could completely reshape the balance of power and force every team to rethink its future. Then there's the second story, and honestly, this one might be even more important because it feels like the clock is ticking. There's growing pressure, major decisions are getting closer. And according to several big NBA insiders, the next few hours could determine how this entire situation unfolds. Something is definitely brewing. Whether you're excited, skeptical, or just trying to figure out what all of this means, there's a lot to unpack today. Before we get into it, do me a quick favor. If you're enjoying the content and you're part of this community, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Eagles Insider Daily is still a brand new channel, and we're working toward our first 1,000 subscribers. It would be awesome to have you here from the very beginning as we build this community of passionate fans together. Alright, let's get into these two big stories. Let's start with the first story because this thing is absolutely wild. A new 7-team trade framework is making the rounds, and the centerpiece of it all is Giannis Antetokounmpo potentially landing with the Boston Celtics. Now, before anybody says this sounds impossible, that's exactly why this proposal has people talking. It's not just a simple trade. It's a 7-team construction designed to make the salaries work, satisfy every franchise involved, and give each team a reason to say yes. According to the proposed framework, the Celtics would receive Giannis Antetokounmpo and build a new superstar core around Jason Tatum and Derek White. But here's where things get serious. The Milwaukee Bucks wouldn't just give away one of the best players on the planet. Their return would reportedly start with Jaylen Brown. And honestly, if you're Milwaukee, that's where any conversation has to begin. Brown is still an all-NBA caliber player. He's in his prime. He's proven he can compete at the highest level. And pairing him with Damian Lillard would allow the Bucks to remain competitive instead of completely tearing everything down. The proposed package would also send Anthony Simons to Milwaukee, giving them another scoring threat and shot creator. On top of that, Milwaukee would receive major draft compensation. The reported framework includes a 2028 Boston first-round pick, a 2030 Boston first-round pick, a 2029 pick swap with Boston, and a lightly protected 2028 San Antonio Spurs first-round pick. That's a significant amount of future flexibility if Milwaukee eventually decides to move into a full rebuild after the Giannis era. Now let's talk about the other teams because this is where the 7-team structure comes into play. The Brooklyn Nets would receive Kristaps Porzingis along with a 2031 Boston second-round pick. The San Antonio Spurs would land Drew Holiday, giving Victor Wembanyama a veteran championship-level point guard and leader. The Portland Trail Blazers would move on from Anthony Simons and receive Baylor Shireman, Jordan Walsh, and a 2027 Boston first-round pick. The Utah Jazz would absorb Pat Connaughton, receive Sam Hauser, and add a 2029 Milwaukee second-round pick. The Charlotte Hornets would receive Bobby Portis and a top 10 protected 2030 Milwaukee first-round pick. When you lay everything out, you can finally understand what each franchise is trying to accomplish. Boston gets the superstar. Milwaukee stays competitive. Brooklyn uses cap flexibility. San Antonio accelerates its timeline around Wembanyama. Portland collects young assets. Utah gains additional draft capital. Charlotte takes on talent while adding future value. And from Boston's perspective, just imagine that lineup. Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Al Horford. Or potentially another veteran center if Horford isn't retained in that role. That's a terrifying team. Defensively, it would be one of the most dangerous groups in the league. Offensively, you'd have Giannis attacking the rim, Tatum creating in half-court situations, and White doing all the little things that winning teams need. Meanwhile, Milwaukee could potentially roll out Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, Jaylen Brown, Bobby Portis, or another replacement power forward, and Brook Lopez if Lopez remains part of their future plans. The biggest question is whether Milwaukee would actually accept this. That's where things get complicated. Many around the league believe the Bucks would probably ask for even more. Another premium asset. Another high-value draft pick. Another young player. Because when you're trading Giannis Antetokounmpo, you're talking about a franchise-altering decision. Still, as a salary cap concept, it's one of the more realistic blockbuster proposals we've seen. But then we get to the second story, and this one feels a lot more real. Because while the 7-team proposal is theoretical, the latest reporting suggests the Giannis situation itself is reaching a critical moment. According to multiple insiders, the Milwaukee Bucks have set an informal deadline around the NBA draft. And with the first round arriving Tuesday night, time is running out. This is where things get really interesting. Bill Simmons addressed the situation directly and pushed back on the idea that anything dramatic changed over the last 36 hours. According to Simmons, Boston made what he described as a real offer approximately 2 weeks ago. Since then, it's basically been a staring contest. Milwaukee waiting, Boston waiting, both sides trying to gain leverage. But Simmons also believes a resolution could arrive very soon, potentially before the draft. Now let's add another layer. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reported that the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat have emerged as the two primary contenders if Giannis Antetokounmpo is moved. Not only that, Windhorst specifically stated that Jaylen Brown is on the table. Think about that for a second. Jaylen Brown, a player who helped deliver a championship alongside Jason Tatum in 2024. A cornerstone player, a fan favorite, and now potentially the centerpiece of a trade package. Windhorst even suggested that if Giannis is traded within the next 24 hours, there's a strong possibility the destination is either Boston or Miami. Then came another major update from ESPN insider Shams Charania. According to Charania, there is currently no third team involved in the active negotiations. That means the most realistic framework right now isn't some complicated 7-team blockbuster. It's a direct deal between Milwaukee and Boston. Or Milwaukee and Miami. Charania also reported that Giannis is prepared to be traded to either Boston or Miami if a deal comes together. And honestly, that changes the entire conversation, because now this no longer feels like fantasy basketball. This feels like a legitimate franchise-defining decision that could happen at any moment. Windhorst also provided perhaps the most revealing insight of all. He said Boston isn't pursuing Giannis simply because they want more talent. They're pursuing him because they genuinely believe they aren't good enough anymore. That's a stunning statement when you're talking about a franchise that won a championship not long ago. But from Boston's perspective, they see warning signs. The New York Knicks just won the championship. The Indiana Pacers are expected to return healthier and stronger. The Eastern Conference is becoming more competitive. And after consecutive disappointing playoff exits, the Celtics apparently believe standing still isn't an option. That tells you everything about their mindset. They're willing to risk one of the most successful duos in franchise history because they think Giannis gives them a better chance to win moving forward. And if the Giannis trade doesn't happen, Windhorst says Jaylen Brown could still potentially be moved elsewhere. That alone is massive news, because suddenly we're not just talking about Giannis. We're talking about the possibility that Boston's entire roster structure could change. And right now, all eyes are on Milwaukee. All eyes are on Brad Stevens. All eyes are on Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because the next few hours may determine the future of multiple franchises. When you step back and look at everything, what stands out most is how desperate teams become when they believe a championship window is either opening or closing. The Bucks are trying to decide whether to keep fighting with Giannis or begin a new chapter. The Celtics are trying to determine whether their current core can still win at the highest level. And the entire league is waiting for an answer. As fans, this is the kind of NBA drama that reminds you how quickly everything can change. One decision, one phone call, one trade. And suddenly the balance of power shifts overnight. We'll see what happens, but it definitely feels like we're approaching a major turning point. If you're a Celtics fan, you're probably excited and nervous at the same time. If you're a Bucks fan, you're probably hoping the front office makes the right call. And if you're just an NBA fan in general, you're probably refreshing your phone every few minutes waiting for the next update. As for me, I think the next 24 hours are going to be absolutely fascinating. So let me know what you think. Would you trade Jaylen Brown for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Do you think Milwaukee should hold on to Giannis? Or do you believe the Bucks need to start planning for the future? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I really want to hear where you stand on this. And if you enjoyed today's update, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Eagles Insider Daily is still a brand new channel, and we're pushing toward our first 1,000 subscribers. If you enjoy honest opinions, daily sports coverage, and real conversations with passionate fans, we'd love to have you here from the beginning. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.